All right. We completed our first paper this past week, or 2 weeks ago, as you well know, and I'm in the process of grading those. I'm making this recording on Thursday, September 18th. So hopefully, by the time you watch this recording, if you wait until Monday of next week, I'll have some feedback for you. If not, it will be shortly coming. Okay. We're going to go ahead and see what's cooking this week. We're working towards that second paper. Last week we laid the groundwork in pre-writing for this paper by reading several pieces of literature. And hopefully you kind of enjoyed the change of pace in those readings. I often have students tell me, oh, it's kind of fun to read stories and poems instead of essays all the time. So hopefully that was your experience. If not, don't worry, we're going to get back to essays soon. Uh, this week, then, we're going to be completing the worksheet that I briefly mentioned last week, and this is going to help lay the foundation for our literary essay. So this week, here's what you've got due. This is the only item, right here. Erin text 427 to 447 talks about what it is to do a literary essay, and there are also some questions that if the questions on the worksheet aren't really giving you enough to go on for your one chosen writing, you're going to choose one of the readings from last week to analyze. If the exercise that I'm going to show you in a minute isn't enough, you can look at the Erin text. And then the Hirschberger text also kind of describes a little bit of what it means to do a literary essay. So these readings are more resource types, and the actual thing that you have to post is the analysis worksheet. This is not an assignment that you need to post to discussion board. You just need to drop it in the Dropbox. So let's go ahead and jump over into course content and be reminded of what I'm talking about. Again, just to remind you, we are not, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We are not doing multiple analysis. You're choosing one at this point. So that should be good news. That was my train of thought I lost. You only will need to choose one of the readings from last time. So one poem, one story that sticks out to you that you really kind of resonate with, or one that you think would be worthy of analysis. Okay? These are the steps of how to do an analysis, and my resource is from a gentleman with the last name of Scholes. So anytime you see Scholes referenced, it's because it's my resource, and I'm trying to be diligent in doing what I expect. I expect you to cite sources, so I'm citing sources. I didn't make this analysis walkthrough up. I derived it from another text. So it's mine, but it's something I got the idea from this literary critic. Okay? So you already read from last week. You already read the literary text, so that was your first step. You might need to reread because this is something that does take some careful reading. So this is talking about just sort of really reading for effect, really reading closely. This section here tells you what it means to analyze. You're the reader. The text that you're reading is over here, and the meaning is being communicated between you. So when you go back to reread and make sure you're doing a close reading, here are some suggestions that can help you. If you've already done this, you're a step ahead. You're ready to go into interpreting. So we read, step one. Okay. Step two, we interpret. And this is where we're going to start laying the groundwork for our analysis. All of the questions in green are ways of interpreting. And again, this Scholes 32 is just my resource. Okay, so once you take, this is where the extra questions are if you feel like you need them. On these, if you answer none or I don't see any, you're probably not going to have enough to write about for your actual analysis. So stretch a little bit. When I say repetitions and oppositions, that's a Scholes term. I'm looking for maybe certain words that are repeated, certain ideas, certain moods, or certain conflicts, certain opposites. Sometimes you see characters who are opposite or opposing sides on either side of a conflict, or maybe they will talk about it being a beautiful day on top of a tragedy happening. Okay, that's an opposition. A similarity and difference between this story or poem that you've chosen and maybe something that you recognize outside of it. So maybe this story reminded you of another poem you've read, or maybe the story reminded you of a movie or a TV show or an episode or a real life situation. How is it different? Sometimes these similarities and differences are within the story, like there's a big mood change or shift. Other times it's something you're comparing and contrasting with something outside of the story or poem. And then the big question is, why did the author do this? This was intentional on the part of the author. Why do you think the author might have created these? This helps us to get to the analysis level. I'm going to just throw this out here. Everything that is assigned in this reading has a symbol at some level. So don't leave this blank. You might have to dig a little deeper. Also, some of the stories and poems we're reading are things you've read before and may have been taught in a certain way, but maybe they missed the point. I would say most of my education experience with the poem by Robert Frost, the poem wasn't really fully explored and may have even had some faulty interpretation that I didn't realize until I was a college student. So just putting that out there. And then what's the message or theme? Not necessarily the moral of the story, but what seems to be the impact that the author is trying to make with this text. Maybe the point. Okay, those green items are for the assignment. The rest of this is just helping you get started next week with your paper, so you can read through it for future if you like to look ahead. But the green is the part that you copy and paste, and you can put it right into the Dropbox that frame. You don't have to put this on a separate Word document. So let's return back to the class and see what else we've got going down here. Okay, yeah, that brings us to next week. That's the only assignment for this week. As always, if you have questions or concerns, please let me know. Have fun doing close reading. I know sometimes it can be tedious and frustrating, but also celebrate those times when you discover something in a text that you never noticed before. And have a great week. Make sure you take some time to reboot, refresh, and get some recreation into, okay? Bye-bye.